No, they said they don't know when we start or when we end. So I'm just letting them know we're starting now.
Give them a clap. Cut.
All righty.
I forgot my glasses.
All set. You can go for it.
So I'll just, I'll jump in with just a quick overview. Obviously, the mayor's office is predominantly salaries. About the only non-salary significant change is in the travel budget. And the travel budget is really going back, it's a little bit higher than pre-COVID, but we severely curtailed it during the COVID period. So we expect both the mayor and some of the folks in the mayor's office to start going back to live conferences, so that went up. But the predominant changes are around salaries. You see we have two new positions, a smart city manager, which will be aligned under Jen Tift in strategic initiatives, the director of mayor's office to reduce gun violence.
Who is taking the smart city manager job?
It'll get posted, Councilor.
It's posted.
No, it will. I don't think it's posted yet.
Not yet.
Okay. It will get posted.
What's posted now is the 81 position.
You'll see full year salaries for the director and deputy director of strategic initiatives. Those folks are they're the ones who oversee ARPA and Surge. The deputy director position is actually a chargeback to ARPA. So there is a, what do we call it here, Tim? A less line? A less line for the deputy director? I'm used to contra expense, so I have to get used to the vocabulary. Less line. The mayor did give senior staff discretionary increases, so you'll see that in this year's budget. The senior executive secretary was promoted, took on some additional responsibilities around city line, and so now has a supervisory role, and moved to a full-time position where it was had been part-time before. And then
You can remember part of what she's taking on is when we lost Maria, who went to FEC and went to FEC and IDEA. So Maria used to do the bulk of that constituent services, but we lost her in the mayor's office.
it was pretty good. I remembered something the deputy mayor doesn't. That's pretty good for me. And then we filled a vacant position, the confidential aid position. So those are the not insignificant changes in the salary.
So then that'll answer the question, since you're talking about the significant changes. So if that's in line with the salaries, that's why we're going to see the uptick at 858.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Much of this is because we've been talking about ensuring we have capacity to adequately administer the $123 million we received in federal stimulus. This is part of that, in addition to the gun violence position.
And then the other position is ARPA funded, right?
The deputy director is ARPA funded, correct.
And then the gun violence position, does he have staff underneath him?
Not yet.
Okay.
That's we're moving forward. And the other thing is that there was a option to put that under ARPA. I thought that position should be in the city budget, and the city should be committed to paying for that position. But right now it's one person. Our counterpart in Rochester asked the same question because they have a similar office and they have one person too. So we both are understanding that it's a start, but that is not working. Finish. We hope to be able to also supplement that position with some DOJ funds, just some grants that we look for.
So there was no staff added into that position for him, it's just his straight position?
Just him for now.
And can we go into, I don't remember when we talked about this job, but could you give us some more context on the
Sure.
reduced violence? What is it? Part-time, full-time?
Full-time position.
What are the hopes, and how will we measure success with this?
So part of his name is Lateef Johnson Kinsey. We did a similar search process as we did when we found Chief Buckner. had some stakeholders, posted it, had about 40 applicants. I led the search for that. Going to come on, and part of the great thing about when he interviewed is he talked about it's easy to just jump in the fray, but he really needs to strategically plan about how we're going to approach this. The premise behind this is that when it comes to gun, the police do their thing. They look at illegal guns, they're identifying who is possessing these guns, how guns are getting in our community. I have to continue, remember to look to the side of you. But they do it strategically using data. We have some hardworking community stakeholders on the ground, but the one thing that I believe is missing is that quantifiable data that can be used not only to direct where they're going, but to provide some 20,000-foot support to them, because they're funded by, we fund trauma response, but everyone else is funded by whether it's the county or private philanthropy or the state. And so here, the city has an opportunity to get some skin in the game and really provide some coordinated efforts. Success will be, one thing we have to do is take a look at all of those programs, see what each one of them are doing. Each of them have their specific specialty. Hassan, for example, he takes the approach of entrepreneurship around preventing gun violence and providing another avenue for those involved in that. Many of them have business minds. That skill set is just being used for the wrong purpose. And so this position will begin to take a look at all of them collectively. We set aside some money on the ARPA budget for prevention and intervention services, but I just don't want to throw money out there. I need some assessment on where we need. An example, the outreach people said, for example, that when they do the outreach, and we have this amazing partnership with SUNY Upstate VPOP Center that I cannot think of the acronym, but what it does is that when they unfortunately are in a position where they're thinking about how they ended up in the hospital, some people decide that I need to find another path. The issue, and the hospital provides them social workers, psychologists, and support staff around them to help them think through that. The problem is that there are many times we're going back to the neighborhood and or the very address where they were shot. So the outreach teams actually said there needs to be some kind of respite space where we can put those same services in a quiet space for people to determine what their transition plan is going to be. Sometime that plan may be leaving the community in order because our good friend Tim Jennings Bay Noble says, you may leave the streets, but the streets never leave you. So many people will come back from jail or come back from recovery and say, I'm done, but whoever they're having their beef with are not done. So a combination of quite a bit of that. Success for me will be an office that creates an umbrella of filling gaps where we're seeing we're missing some service delivery, providing a global methodology for measuring what they're accomplishing, because they're all doing it independently. And only trauma response is obligated to the city to report anything. So that's part of it. He'll also be teaming up with Dr. Tillman, who you all approved the funding for, and get out there. And we are interviewing, due to Nico's connections with Bloomberg, we're going to get a Bloomberg fellow to help us with some other program design. So we're going to be interviewing for that person next week. So I feel like we're pulling together a team now around this issue in City Hall, and to supplement it with some funding that I'll be coming to you all for. But I want to know specifically what we want to use that funding for. Did that answer, kind of, sort of? Okay.
So, Deputy Mayor, so is this idea based on some sort of template that's been successful somewhere?
Well, our sister city, we always comparing and contrasting with Rochester. They established the same thing. There are other communities who also have offices for gun violence. The closest, other than Rochester, is New York City, but they have more than one staff, but we'll get there. They have quite a full team down there.
And they've had success?
Yeah, this office, Twiggy Billieu from the National Action Network, when she was the president, brought the idea of the New York Mayor's Office to reduce gun violence to us, probably 2019. COVID got us off track, but then last year I said we're gonna focus in on getting this done. So they have a model that you can't cookie cutter anything and put in Syracuse, but they have a model that we can base what we want to do off of.
Because as you said before, we have a lot of people that are dealing with this.
Right. We want to bring some synergy to all of it. Yeah.
So I like your idea about standing back and seeing,
Assessing what is being done, where the gaps are, what is being done other places that hopefully Dr. Tillman will tell us about that we can implement here, and how we can firm up even what we're doing here. Having the availability of a few resources and somebody that can lead this will help us have our own skin in the game, because really, other than trauma response, financially, we don't fund anything that can help us in preventing and intervention.
well, I get a little nervous that he's out there by himself.
So he's been out there on the ground. Oh,
Well, but I mean, in this position, he's gonna need some help.
yeah. So part of my job is to make sure that he is not pulled in 15,000 directions. I'm already getting emails. I want to meet him because we're doing this. Reminding people that the focus of this position is reducing gun violence. There's a lot of violence, varying forms of violence. This position is focused on gun violence prevention. Working with community stakeholders and the police department to find out how we can have some synergy to reduce it effectively. But part of my job is to find additional money to help further staff it, but also ensuring that he's not being drawn into so many roads that the focus of why we brought him on board is watered down. This is about gun violence, addressing gun violence. There are other reasons why there's gun violence, but I want to keep them focused, and that's my job, is to help them do that. Because I already have like 10 emails in my box right now.
And when did he start?
Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he get 2 days to get settled, and then. Right.
Hear about the smart city people?
I see Jen in the back of the room.
Just a thumbnail sketch of what we expect from the smart city manager.
Yeah, Jen, do you want to do that justice?
See, she's smart because she's sitting in the back.
I know. But I'm smart because I'm smart.
I didn't want to, take anything away, Frank. You're very good at articulating this. Hi, everyone. Jen Tiff, Director of Strategic Initiatives for the city. So I think everyone is aware, we've had a focus on becoming a smarter city, one that really leverages and uses data connectivity to our advantage. I actually was just at Smart Cities Conference last week, meeting with other cities from around the country, really across North America, talking about a lot of these issues. I know Councilor Driscoll joined me on a call last week about community broadband initiatives, and it's all really tied in together. So we don't really have anyone from a dedicated staff perspective in any parts of our city government that is really focused on studying the latest trends, doing analysis of what some of the return on investment really is for implementing and scaling the use of some of these emerging technologies, which is a bit of a deficit. There's a lot of great stuff out there. Frankly, after you go to conferences like the one I was at last week, you sort of understand there's like thousands of vendors and they all want to sell us, shiny objects. But we need to do the analysis and understand, what do we need to better operate most efficiently and effectively? And these technologies really have enormous promise to add all kinds of efficiency and effectiveness to what we do. But we need to, study it to do an ROI analysis and actually determine the types of things we want to make an investment in. And so part of what this staff position would do would be to help us understand what those opportunities are, work with our departments to identify some of the things that they think will help make our existing operations run more efficiently or smoothly. One of the big things that I think we have a huge opportunity to do is to identify some smart cities initiatives that could actually create new revenue streams for the city. And then the other big thing is, since we're going to use some of our ARPA funding to start to get into the business of providing community broadband, we do need a staff resource that can also help to implement that project. And so that's actually going to be one of the bigger focuses for this person. So, again, I think there's a lot of great things that we can take advantage of as a city, but it's really hard to make inroads with some of these emerging technologies without a real dedicated person kind of looking at this. And obviously this person will work really collaboratively with the innovation team, with digital services, and with IT from a networking perspective, but really it requires more of sort of a business analysis, business case skill set, and sort of a vendor management skill set. So a little different and distinct from what Kelsey and her team are doing, Dave and his team are doing, Nico and his team are doing, which is why we kind of wanted to introduce the position in the mayor's office, really test it out, and then, see what we can do from there. But that's really the idea, the genesis behind it. Happy to answer questions.
So, I think this came up earlier in our API meeting. You gather all this data, and for Jen, you mentioned implement, and this, you gather the data, and then we have to make a decision on that data, what is valuable, and how we implement it. So will this guy refer to this? Actually, implement?
Yeah, that's part of it, right? So, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we want to not just identify, like I said, sort of the shiny objects that we want to pilot here and there, but, assuming pilots are successful, we want to be able to scale those things. We want to be able to fully adopt them from an operational perspective. And that implementation takes, real project management oversight, and we just don't have the capacity to do all the other things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis, and to, implement these, new technologies.
And depending on the technology, the real expert for the need of it is the department head,
Right.
the department leadership. But they need the support of someone who understands the varying differences of the technologies, or how to implement it to ensure that it's done properly.
Probably the best example that I ran into when I first joined the city councilor was the streetlights. Tremendous project, but under-resourced. And it would have gone much smoother and probably much quicker if we had some dedicated folks to it.
And it would have got a lot slower if that had been a pre-existing department, if the department had maybe grown. So I just,
Fair.
that
Yeah.
was a terrific
Yeah.
idea that, you didn't have any kind of built-in resistance from the department.
I think that's right, and it's a huge win. But there's Jen's got a portfolio of potential big wins. She's busy, to the point that you've made before, managing $123 million in ARPA funding. So this is another pair of hands so that she can move that portfolio forward.
Quick
Any other
question.
questions?
The ID1 planner position, I guess not.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. ID1 planner position, is that being proposed here or the last?
That's going to be in NBD.
Okay, got it.
Who I think is here Wednesday.
So what about discretionary raises? Got that here.
Hard-earned raises that we hadn't seen since the beginning of getting here.
At the mayor's discretion.
Hadn't had a raise since I started.
Okay, you deserve one.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
After what we went through with COVID, sitting in those meetings worrying about if the city was gonna go broke or not.
I think we did all right as a city.
Yeah. I think we've come out, we're not out of the woods yet, but we can see the edge.
I think it's incumbent of the council always to ask questions about that stuff,
I
so.
don't disagree in the slightest.
Every time I see the horizon, then the numbers go up. So we're at the top risk rating right now. Just us and a handful of other counties in the whole country.
And I guess the mayor could talk to Councilor Green about the revenue enhancement program.
Yes.
The mayor's office.
Yep.
That'd be fairly interesting. I guess Jen, you'll have part of that too, Jen?
Sure she
Revenue
will. She might not know it yet, but
We
Is
envision
that called
running-
taxes by any chance, or is that also called taxes by any chance?
no.
No, I think, I see it running very similar to the way we ran the contingency planning group with, hand in hand with the council, and we made hard decisions together.
Right.
So, no, I see it running in very similar ways. I know Councilor Green already has some ideas. I know Director Rudd and the Finance Commissioner have some ideas. And Councilor Driscoll has already brought a couple ideas to the table, so.
I remember there was a new city councilor, he was fairly young at that time, who wanted to put a surge charge on every ticket sold in public venues over 25,000 people. That was,
is that the one staring at you right now?
no, it was me, actually.
Was it you?
Yeah. And I was turned down by the law department.
He says young.
There is
I wasn't even young then.
there's a lot of interesting things that happen. New York City has a lot of exceptions around those kinds of things, and there's no reason that some of that can't be duplicated.
Good.
So entertainment, room occupancy, there's a whole host of things that we probably need to look at. So that young counselor who knows?
Would that come before the council to vote on all that, wouldn't it?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and some of it would require some support from Albany.
Right.
In
State
addition
support.
to all of it would require the council, some of it would require.
How's the mayor's office doing with that, with the state representatives, as far as, we just sent a resolution to them
Yeah, we're,
about state aid. How's that going?
they're on board.
Okay, good. Everybody turned somber.
So, question, I'm looking at the offset from special grants sources under personnel services. So that offsets some of the costs of the, salaries? Was that ARPA?
Is that all ARPA? It is, yep. Thank goodness for the budget team.
Oh, I forgot my glasses. Can't see anything on this page.
The professional services, is that a new service?
So, the gun violence position is there, and
ARPA oversight.
And
I think
so,
part of the director.
gun
The gun
Is
violence,
the only one, isn't it?
is that the only
Yeah.
one? So that's, salary and fringe. I needed someone who knew gun violence, not that could test high on the civil service test. You guys look tired.
Yeah, all day. I'm still, let me see, is this is Office of the Mayor, this is Office of Administration.
Oh, that's tomorrow.
I think that's a different hearing.
I know. All right. Any more questions? Anything else?
This is by far the quietest meeting I've ever had on the budget of the mayor's office in my long tenure as a city councilor. You guys must be doing something right.
I hope so. I feel
Or
tired.
we're tired at the end of the day.
It's a combination of both.
Good scheduling's important, Deputy Mayor,
Go last.
That's right.
I feel obligated not to say anything unless you ask a direct question.
Well, how many out of title pay do we have?
None this year.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, that was 21, okay.
okay. I
So
can't
we won't
remember.
have any more?
No, I can't remember what that was either. Could look it up.
You ain't gotta worry about it.
Okay.
You're fine. You're fine, you're fine. I just,
Okay.
there's no more there, so that's a good thing. All right.
All set?
Y'all
Thank
set?
you, Counselor.
Thank you all.
We are done, WCNY.
That is too funny.